Gari Baki orders internal investigations. Michael Waipo warned not to effect changes. And more than 900 graduate from UOG.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. Police Commissioner Gari Baki has ordered an internal investigation into the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate and ordered all files held by the Directorate to be confiscated. The investigators were instructed in the terms of reference to retrieve all criminal files and complaints held at the fraud headquarters. Assistant Commissioner Operations David Manning will head the internal investigation.
Last night, the terms of reference for the internal investigation were released by Commissioner Baki. One of the requirements of the TOR includes the confiscation of all criminal files and complaints held at the National Fraud Office. It includes files of all high-profile cases investigated and questioned by the fraud officers. It is unclear where the confiscated files will be stored after the 4 weeks of the investigation. Assistant Commissioner Operations David Manning will head the investigation together with a team from the Internal Investigations Unit and the Special Police Investigations Team. The investigation was established to find out whether the officers of the Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate were paid to investigate certain cases. The investigating team will also try to establish whether the conduct of Chief Investigator Matthew Damaru and Deputy Timothy Gitua to challenge Baki's authority in court was a breach of the Commissioner's authority. The conduct of the two private lawyers representing Damaru and Gitua will also be investigated. This comes 4 days after Commissioner Baki suspended Damaru for an unsanctioned fraud investigation in the Eastern Highlands and Chimbu Provincial Administration. Quinten Alom, National EMTV News.
There is a court order in place that restrains Police Commissioner Gari Baki from interfering with the operations of the National Fraud and Anti-Corruption Directorate. This follows a stay order which was granted by the National Court in Port Moresby on Monday. This means NFACD Director Chief Superintendent Matthew Damaru will continue as head of the Directorate. However, this is only temporary pending the substantive matter. The substantive matter is on the powers of the Police Commissioner in relation to terminating or suspending a police officer. Opposition leader Don Pollier says the Police Commissioner's recent action to shut down Fraud Investigations Office is uncalled for. The opposition leader said this attitude displayed by Mr. Baki is embarrassing and in breach of national laws.
But to close down the office of the fraud squad and lock them out, that's absolutely backward. It is unprofessional, it's unethical, it's illegal, it is a contempt to the court order. It is very, very embarrassing. It is demeaning this country's the highest offices, the office of the Prime Minister, the office of all the other leaders, the judicial system, the Attorney General, and the office that he occupies as the Police Commissioner of Papua New Guinea. It is so embarrassing.
Governor of National Capital District Powes Pakop has called on the National Land Transport Board to admit their incompetency in finding long-term solutions to the public transport issue in the nation's capital. Mr. Pakop's comments come after the recent attack on public motor vehicles that resulted in a citywide strike of the public transport system. The strike affected the city's working population and the public who rely on PMVs.
The recent two-day PMV strike in the nation's capital has brought up the conversation on the proper management of the public transport system. NCD Governor Powes Pakop said the National Transport Board, which manages PMVs and public transport in the city, must come up with long-term solutions to this recurring problem. Governor Pakop said the National Land Transport Board should otherwise admit their inability to resolve the issue and delegate the responsibility to the NCDC as the authority in the city to manage the city's public transport. He said there are too many authorities charged with managing transport and public transport in the city, causing much inconvenience and problems for the traveling public and road users in general. Governor Pakop stressed that only one transport authority is needed in the city, and that can only be the NCDC. Governor Pakop said NCDC is waiting to discuss this with the new Minister for Transport, Nixon Duban. He hopes this can be finalized soon so that a more reliable, efficient and affordable public transport system can be designed. By doing this, the governor said the city can see a reduction in traffic jams and bottlenecks caused by frequent and unnecessary roadblocks and unsupervised congested areas. Deli Waigeno, National, MTV News.
Correctional Service Minister Jim Simatab says a letter has been written to the court-reinstated CS Commissioner, Michael Waipo, to not make decisions that affect the transfer and promotion of officers. The letter is a response to a petition that presented to the CS headquarters in Port Moresby last Friday, expressing grievances of over 70 correctional officers on their transfer to other posts. Simatab says Waipo is only acting as Commissioner pending the substantive hearing and should refrain from such actions.
The letter is asking the interim commissioner to refrain from giving orders that will affect the jail operations in the country. In the petition presented to the Correctional Services HQ, concerns on the transferal and new appointment of CS officers were questioned.
I have issued a letter to the commissioner, interim commissioner, Mr. Waipo, not to effectively effect these changes until the court has made a decision as to who the permanent commissioner would be. Mr. Waipo is seen there as an interim period and should not make this decision, which be deemed unlawful, and we should not penalize these officers.
On March 15th, a Supreme Court order restrained Minister Simatab, the National Executive Council appointed Commissioner, Chief Inspector Bernard Nepo, and the NEC from interfering with the reinstatement of Waipo as Commissioner. Since the orders were served, Nepo has stepped aside pending the substantive matter.
And unfortunately, the uncertainties in the management of the organization will continue until the courts have determined the cases before them. And I hope the courts will see this and speed up this court case so we can put the matter to rest.
This afternoon, Minister Simatab said though he is maintaining good communication with Waipo, the minister has pointed out that the commissioner isn't providing reports to the minister. Thekla Gunga, National, MTV News.
Students at the Papua New Guinea University of Technology have suspended classes for today and locked the main gate in protest over the attack on a student this morning. 20 armed men held up a final year male student in front of his room and stole laptops and mobile phones. The students are demanding the university to improve security.
At around 4 and 5 a.m. in the morning, more than 20 men armed with a shotgun, knives, sticks and stones entered through the school premises through this fence. They started walking around the male dormitory, knocking on the doors for someone to open the door. But the students were fast asleep after their night study and did not hear them knocking. At that moment, a male student from room 1 came out of his room to use the loo. It was at that time the armed man saw him and pointed the gun to his head.
20 plus number will come. I'll come now. Must knock look at the door. I'll knock look at the door, go now. Then nobody responded. But it's the room number 1 room number 1 boy have come out there. Just need to call. Can you send him come out long? All we got chance to look at him. So I'll come now. I'll come on the gun. I'll put him on the gun point.
At gunpoint, the student was asked to go into his room. The student had with him 5 laptops that belonged to other students that he was working on. The armed man got the laptops and 2 phones and escaped through the same way they came. As soon as the armed man escaped, the student called out for help. Male students started chasing the armed man. However, the armed man fired a warning shot at them and escaped. Buckley Irumi Jr. is a final year civil engineering student. He is one of the students who also tried to chase the armed man. He said this incident has prompted the students to cancel classes today and locked off the school gate in protest for the school administration to address security issues in the school. Students have grown tired of the continuous harassment they face from the surrounding communities.
They kept on doing this to us for a couple of years. And now we had enough, I think. We just had about enough. So we had to address this issue here.
Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Ley.
You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, graduation day for University of Goroka, an update on the Tabubil-Oksapmin Road in Western Province, and a research on the increase of maternal mortality rates. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The government is working to ensure OTML will be able to pay 20 million kina annually towards the construction of a Tabubil to Oksapmin Road. Solan Mirisim, member for Telefomin, told MTV this morning that under the current tax credit scheme arrangement, OTML is unable to contribute towards the road. In November 2014, groundbreaking ceremonies were held in Tabubil and Oksapmin for a road to be built to link the remote area in Telefomin district in Sundown Province to the mining township in Western Province. The road is expected to cost 300 million kina, and so far it has received 10 million kina from the government in the 2014 budget.
In a telephone interview this morning with MTV, member for Telefomin Sola Mirisim said special amendments will need to be made by Finance and Treasury to the current tax credit scheme arrangement the government has with OTML in order for the road project to receive 20 million kina annually from the mining company. He said in this year's national budget, there was no allocation for the road construction, which has received some funding in 2014. Something he told a media conference last week when commenting on the recent Kiunga plane crash.
Chances of plane crash or tragic happen like this is very high when we travel more on the plane. So
all of the passengers who died in the plane crash a week ago were from the Telefomin district. This has ignited calls from government leaders and officials for a road to be built to avoid further similar disasters.
All can look like walking more road, come inside of this area, and by good our people, and we'll save lives.
Grieving and frustrated relatives of the victims also share similar sentiments. Some of them were present during the groundbreaking ceremony, which was officiated by the Prime Minister in November 2014.
Okay, 11 plan in big plan about Thomas. You must now look me plan now. Now me plan talk me plan Mary, me plan Mama, me plan cry, me plan talk I play you now. You must extend me plan.
Look at plant service come inside me plan. Install a mountain, kalablo lily balusi go come na. Hamas pladayam come up in this.
So far, the government has allocated 15 million kina towards the construction of this road. 10 million kina in 2014 and 5 million in 2015. However, the 5 million kina is yet to be received. With the 10 million kina, they have managed to build 5 kilometers of road from Tabubil towards Telefomin.
And we're working on a bridge, so as soon as that bridge is completed, then we still need more funds to continue.
During the press conference last week, he called for commitment by the national government to ensure construction of this road progresses to avoid similar aviation disaster which occurred last week. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The 3 rural local level governments in the Rigo district of Central Province received disaster relief supplies yesterday at the Kwikila Council chambers. The relief food supplies were purchased by the Central Provincial Administration through the Provincial Disaster Office. CEO of the Rigo District Development Authority, Magini Raga, said a total of 60,000 kina worth of relief food supplies were purchased at a local Chinese wholesale at Kwikila Station and distributed yesterday. Central Provincial Disaster Coordinator Tumai Ipo said this was the first time disaster relief supplies have come to the district level. A landowner group from the Kairukuhiri in the Central Province is claiming that the government did not consult them before signing the contract for a 7 billion kina rice project. The rice project will be carried out by Naime Agro Limited in the Brown River area. Local member Peter Isoaimo said the Department of Agriculture and Livestock will oversee the project in due time.
The Migu Humbleboo clan says they are the rightful landowners of Vanapa Brown, the land the rice project will be located in. Chief of the clan, Kasimaro Dia, says the land is traditionally theirs and want the government to consult them during the negotiations.
Any project you go ahead and take place, government you must negotiate one time of our ground. Now this is like take place long.
They say they have been in the dark until recent media reports on the signing.
We still stand here saying that, and we are not aware of this project. Is it good or is it bad? We are not made aware of.
The landowners said the deal should have been made public and not behind closed doors.
We still stand here saying that, and we are not aware of this project. Is it good or is it bad? We are not made aware of.
Karukuhiri member Peter Isoaimo says the rice project is still in its early days and he is still waiting on the Department of Agriculture to carry out consultation with all landowners.
The National DAL, who are actually coordinating the process together with our provincial DAL, people to, organize a meeting where we can sit down with themselves as well as the developer.
Mr. Isoaimo also said that landowners should take advantage of the foreign investment coming to their land. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The Kina opened 10 points lower at $0.3185 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.3110 US dollars, $0.3954 Australian dollars, $0.2707 euro, and 33.72 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee, cocoa, and copra closed higher, while gold closed the day lower. Crude oil closed lower, while palm oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 49 points higher, the ASX closed 16 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 16 points higher. You're with National EMTV News. More local stories after the break, including the first portraits of PNG painted more than 90 years ago. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The University of Goroka created history today by graduating a record 954 students. Interim Chancellor Dr. Joseph Sukuanob called on the graduates to be the change in the education system. Chancellor Sukuanob meanwhile maintained that the Interim Council is in the process of moving the institution to another level. Seventh-day Adventist students at the University of Papua New Guinea have made donations to fellow students affected by the Talaigu blaze. This church donation includes basic necessary items such as bedsheets, towels and toiletries to support students during their studies. Eric Harupma with this report.
The April 1st blaze at the country's premier institution Talaigu Hall of Residence affected over 100 mostly first-year students. Eyewitnesses said the fire started at around 7 p.m. in one of the rooms upstairs 15 minutes after the 36 cubicle dormitory that houses the first-year students was engulfed by large flames. Following this incident, many students have lost their properties worth thousands of kina in the blaze. Meanwhile, it's 4 weeks into this and little has been given to assist affected students. Recently, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, together with the SDA Students Association, donated necessary items like towels, bedsheets and toiletries as part of cash and kind contributions to their fellow students.
We say thank you to our church parents who are right behind us to help our fellow friends who reside at Talaigu. Things that we acquire on this earth are meant to be lost, but life that we have, it's meant to be forever with us.
Elder and Personal Ministry leader Arila Aro, who is present with SDA students to make donations, said students are part of the church community and this contribution shows that they care for each other.
That students are able to help
another student that is in need. In that way, we create an environment of friendliness, where one is struggling, the one who has and who is stronger can help another, so that we're all working towards, achieving what Vision 50 talks about,
He said the integral part of this donation highlighted a communal responsibility where students can help each other during the time of need. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
The Family Support Center at Lays Enga Hospital has been in operation for the past 16 years but has to contend with a small office space. This government agency within the health department has been doing its best to provide support for victims of gender-based violence. But Sister in Charge, Sister Anastasia Wako, says the center is struggling to operate in small rooms, an environment not conducive for patients and staff. Colleen Barilai reports.
This is the interior of the Family Support Center building at Lays Enga Hospital, a small space that caters for both patients or survivors of violence and the staff that work here. Each day, this support center records over 20 cases of family violence incidences. As more patients go to receive help, the rooms that are being used to perform medical checks and counseling for the victims are becoming crowded. The sister in charge, Sister Anastasia Wako, says during wet seasons, the waiting areas also get flooded as there is no proper drainage surrounding the building.
We're dreaming for the redevelopment if the management can, not the management, it has been approved already. We are just looking forward for a new building to be, to replace this one that we are in now, so that better service can be provided and more spaces for the survivors to sit comfortably. And, it takes like about 3 to 4 hours to attend to a very extreme cases. Because when they come here, we provide a more holistic approach, not only giving medical intervention like just giving an injection or suturing and off they go. We also explore into their mindset and see what exactly their problem is, and we deal with the cases according to the need.
Files stored in these lockers are used to help other partner organizations like the police or courts pursue a case.
We provide thousands and thousands of medical reports in a year for all these cases as well. And the police come and they pick it. Normally we've been giving it to the survivors, but because of the issue of compensation, so we have decided to give it to the arresting officer, the police prosecutor who is in charge of the arresting the perpetrators.
Colleen Barilai, National EMTV News, Lay.
Emily Bosky, the Morbe Social Welfare Services Coordinator, has revealed that an average of 10 women come to seek counseling after being deserted by their men. This is usually the case when the average household is being affected by the high cost of living.
In a month, over 200 cases are being reported, most involving women and children being abandoned by men. Welfare Officer Emily Bosky says the factors causing men to leave their wives and children sometimes develop from economic burdens like high cost of living. She also says most complainants who come in to report their problems come from families where a man's roles and responsibilities are ignored.
We will take this down to the lowest level so that communities can take ownership and the people will be responsible of the cases that we are now faced with. So that at our level, we are here only to facilitate, monitor and coordinate.
Most of the cases reported to the welfare services are supported by policies under the Lookout Mpikinini Act that protects the rights of children. Some of the clients who report cases here only seek to receive legal procedure advice or counseling on their family problems.
We help them with summons, process summons and affidavits, and complaints maintenance, and search warrants.
The Social Welfare Services plans to minimize these problems by creating community awareness activities to maintain order at the community level. Colleen Barilai, National EMTV News, Lay.
A professional medical research institute will carry out studies in East New Britain province to find out why the rate of maternal mortality is still high in PNG. The Burnett Institute will access the health, social and developmental indicators to find specific reasons why many mothers and babies die during and after labor.
PNG has the highest cases of maternal and infant mortality in the Southwest Pacific. Over 5,000 newborn babies die each year. Another 7,000 will not survive before their 5th birthday. Over 2,000 mothers die from birth complications at labor. But a well-known non-government institute says 2/3 of these deaths could be prevented. Bennett Institute Director and Chief Executive Officer Brendan Crabb says many newborns were born underweight. The institute will carry out a 5-year research program in East New Britain province to find out contributing factors that continue to make mortality rates in PNG high.
It may seem on the surface rather obvious why there are these problems, but in truth we don't know what the causes are, and we certainly don't know their rank order. What is more important than something else? And so if to have effective health intervention, we need to know that. We need to know where the government of PNG and other supporters should put their dollars.
Today, Bank South Pacific gave 250,000 kina to the Bennett Institute to support its Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies program as the principal supporter. BSP will fund this research program for the next 3 years.
BSP, has felt that it's important to support this particular research.
While infant and maternal mortality rate is still high, Bennett Institute says there is need for more medical research and funding still remain a hindrance. The outcome of this research will enable policymakers to understand and address mortality issues. Quinten Alom, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea's floriculture industry, through the PNG Cut Flowers Association, is preparing for the annual flower show that is scheduled in the month of May. The preparations include varieties of flower arrangements, stall displays and prizes. Registered flower farmers from across the country are invited to showcase their flowers during this event. Erika Rukma with this report.
The floriculture industry in Papua New Guinea is a small but promising income-generating source for the people engaged in the SME sector. Inspired by the country's diverse and beautiful flowers, for over 8 years, the PNG's Cut Flowers Association has been at the forefront of developing this floriculture industry. This morning, members of the PNG Cut Flowers Association, many of which are local farmers, gathered at the Port Moresby Arts Theatre in Port Moresby to make preparations for the annual flower show commencing next month.
No, it's not just one person doing it, but has become a family kind of business. They have flowers, they grow flowers at home, or even developing them into a farm.
PNG Cut Flowers Association is a registered firm under the Investment Promotion Authority and gazetted by the National Training Council to conduct training in order to help local farmers venture into flower business. President of PNG Cut Flowers Association, Mary Sound, has been conducting a number of trainings in many provinces and educating people about the essence of this industry. She said PNG has been known for its floriculture, and turning it into something beautiful requires creativity with available flowers.
Our flower show coincides with Mother's Day on Sunday. And it has come, like we find, it's a big encouragement, not just for us as flower sellers and all, but for those who wanting to, put in their orders for, for Mother's Day, for a gift for mothers.
In preparations for this event, more flowers have been bought and brought into Port Moresby from Medeng, Ley, Jiwaka and Manus. Farmers said it's going to be all natural with stems, leaves and flower. The flower show will resume on the 2nd to the 8th of May in Port Moresby. Erika Rukma, National EMTV News.
The first colored portraits of Papua New Guineans were believed to be painted 96 years ago. An American photographer, Michelle Westmoreland, presented a preview of an art documentary inspired by the true events of a book dating back to the 1920s. The documentary film, Headhunt Revisited with Brush, Camera and Canvas, tells the tale of an American artist who was on a quest to capture portraits of indigenous people in the 1920s.
These images are believed to be some of the first produced colored paintings of PNG. They were produced by an American portrait artist, Caroline Mittinger, who traveled to PNG and the Solomon Islands in 1926.
And a myriad of
More than 80 years later, Michelle Westmoreland, another American who has traveled to PNG several times, stumbled upon one of Meetinger's books based on her travels to PNG and is now in the country to give a preview of the documentary film Headhunter Revisited with brush, camera and canvas.
Again, this is the story to tell that. And then what was I thinking? You know, after I found the paintings, read the books, my first thought, because I have so many friends over here in Papua New Guinea, especially in the dive community, I said, I need to do my own expedition. I need to retrace Caroline's footsteps. So it was quite a while, a good year and a half of planning.
Westmoreland says while retracing the portraits, they also met descendants of some of the people in the portraits and learned the diverse art cultures in their areas.
Art can be so powerful in so many different ways.
Come to present day and contemporary PNG artist Jeffrey Figa has revisited Caroline's work with his own interpretation that shares the cultural connections with a modern day version.
Michelle introduced me to Caroline's work, and I couldn't believe it, because here were images that were from the 1920s in color, because it was painted. I mean, back then, you know, you only had black and white photographs, and that's the only reference that we as like Papua New Guineans have of that time. But to see something in such vibrant color, it was like as if it was today, you know. And so that was the immediate connection for me.
Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
To the region now, and the first female Deputy Prime Minister in the Pacific region is Fiame Naomi Mataafa of Samoa. This comes as a result of the country implementing the temporary special measures to increase women's participation in Parliament. Mataafa was elected by Samoa's ruling party in the recent general elections. Fabian Hakelit spoke to Mataafa on a recent trip to Papua New Guinea before the elections.
Samoa is a country in the Pacific that has proven to be implementing the temporary special measures, a piece of legislation the Samoan government is supporting, giving provisions to women's voices. Samoa, along with Papua New Guinea's autonomous region of Bougainville, have been giving women voices in politics. I was able to catch up with Samoa's new Deputy Prime Minister, Fiame Naomi Mataafa, on a recent trip to Papua New Guinea.
One of the unique features of our legislation is that the numbers in our parliament may change. So at the moment we have 49, but if then, for instance, no women get in, we bring in 5 additional members through our special measure.
Mataafa was the former Justice and Courts Administration Minister and was among other contesting female candidates successfully elected into the parliament. In 2013, a legislative change imposed a requirement for greater representation of women in parliament with 10% of parliamentary seats. In an interview with Pacific Beat, Mataafa said it was significant when Pacific Island countries have been trying to increase women's participation in public life and in politics.
The only advantage that the legislation provides is that if after an election we don't have any women, then the legislation will provide by recanvassing the results and bringing in women who have run and who have polled the ranking percentage.
Fabian Hakelit, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. The Hunters to take on the Burleigh Bears in the Kokoda Cup Challenge. The details when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The SPPNG Hunters play their round 8 match on Monday, the 25th of April, against the Burleigh Bears at Pizzey Park, Brisbane, Australia. The match is set to be a thriller as both teams will battle it out for the Kokoda Cup. in remembrance of soldiers who fought along the Kokoda track in World War II.
The Bears held aloft the Kokoda Cup in 2014 before the Hunters won it back in 2015. In the Hunters-Anzac match, they will be without captain Noel Zemming, who sustained an injury in last week's clash.
Yeah, the arm injury from Blackhawks game. He played with it last weekend, but also he lost one tooth down in the Mackay cutter, so yeah, so that's been giving him a bit of problem, headache and stuff. But yeah, and also he's got minor groin, knee. Probably a rest will give him a good chance of playing again next weekend. Yeah.
Stargroth Amin makes a return to fullback, but coach Michael Marum says Amin needs to improve his game.
No, he had a rib from last weekend. He was going to play Diesel Cup, but I stopped him. And probably, apart from the injury he had, he probably needs to lift his game too. So, and he knows that, given him another chance. So, yeah, and then players fighting for their spots there. So.
Adam Korave will be captaining the side next week Monday and says he is privileged and ready to lead the boys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward for it. We've beaten them in Brisbane and here, and we've won the cup, and we brought the cup here, and then we're going down there. They're the big side too, so yeah. But the boys are already prepared well to meet the boys in the Belly Bear. So yeah, we're looking forward for it.
The Hunters leave Port Moresby on Sunday, the 24th of April, for the 3:30 p.m. clash against the Bears on Monday. They will be wearing black armbands in tribute to former Kumul Taragao, who recently passed away. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
Following round 7 of the Intrust Super Cup season, the PNG Hunters have moved up to an impressive second place after beating the North Devils at the National Football Stadium over the weekend. The Hunters' 38-22 win against the Devils has put them on 12 points along with competition leaders Townsville Blackhawks. The PNG Hunters take on the Belly Bears in round 8 in Brisbane this weekend. SPPNG Hunters forward Benjamin Hetra has been in form over the past few games this season. Hetra has been consistently named in the team with his main ambition to improve on every game.
The young forward is determined to be consistently named in the team for the rest of the season.
Throughout the pre-season, towards the beginning of the year, I decided a chance first 2 games. I got a second crack just last week, so it's good to get a good start.
He has no big plans this year but to take each game at a time.
For me, at least, the Hunters in itself is a great accomplishment. It's the highest you can achieve in PNG Rugby League, besides wearing the Kumul jumper. So for me, I'm satisfied with where I am right now, but if any opportunities arise, it would be great to get special those opportunities.
Hetra put on an outstanding performance last weekend, scoring a try and setting up Justin Olam to cross over the line.
That was just all due to just carried by the game's atmosphere, so I just pushed hard. And, yeah.
Hetra talked about the previous 7 games and says the boys still have to pick up on the pace of the competition.
Yeah, previously I played with the Digital Cup teams. The pace of the game is much slower. So they've basically worked on our fitness, to just get the basics, the technical aspects of the game right. So we've been focusing on that throughout the preseason towards the preseason proper. So we've been working on that. So that's the physicality of the game is quite okay, but that is the pace of the game. So we've been trying to cope up with that. So at least we're getting the hand of the game now. So at least going towards the mid-season, I think all the boys are doing well. So we should be okay.
Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Gulf is one province in the country yet to see sports development initiatives introduced to identify raw sporting talent within the province. With backing from the PNG Sports Foundation, the province will finally advance in sports. Today, both parties signed a memorandum of understanding to effect sports development in Gulf.
The Memorandum of Understanding between the PNG Sports Foundation and Gulf Province will go a long way setting up pathways and creating opportunities for excellence in sports. As Gulf Provincial Administrator explains, the province has for too long been idle in all sporting activities.
Some of the finest, like any other province,
some of the finest sportsmen and women in the country. We still don't have the facilities, especially in the province, to really develop the talent. And I'm so happy this afternoon that with signing of the MOU this afternoon, will really help to pave a way forward for us to advance in sports and be par with other provinces in the country.
Executive Director of the PNG Sports Foundation, Peter Chamlili Jr., says as the governing body of sports in the country, they are duty-bound to assist provinces develop each and every component of sport.
This MOU may signify this partnership one time, this organization you may look at as PNG Sports Foundation, where responsibility belong to bring him sports sequence lo all get a likely cup corner blow this country. Me play more 7 plus sports inside lo this country. Na organization ni how much threat where for the first time again me play can pamitok one me play can straight him good straight this walk about na this relationship lo how by me hold him hand one time province blow golf lo develop him all programs inside lo province blow golf lo how by you me can help him walk about na vision belong all leaders is that who step inside lo golf.
Through this MOU, the foundation will establish a better working relationship with the Gulf Provincial Government, provide support for the Gulf Provincial Sports Authority, provide technical assistance in sports policies, sports facility development, sports administration and event management, provide strength and conditioning training for all athletes, and upskill coaches, trainers and managers.
You may got plenty of different programs you will initiate them through the foundation. I think big plan mo yet belong what we inspire to create bring him come back lo province lo develop him human development through sports where no address him you may talk sports and one pla vehicle tasol but inside of vehicle you got plenty good qualities but come out long him. So I think in moving forward what the MOU will do is it will create leaders within the province through sports, driving different messages, molding, shaping and nurturing the way forward for the Gulf province, will indirectly be contributing inside Papua New Guinea.
This partnership is a first for the foundation, making Gulf the first province to sign the MOU with the PNG Sports Foundation since its establishment in 1992. Over the course of 4 years, the foundation, through the budgetary appropriation, will allocate funds to honour obligations stated within the agreement. Lorraine Genia, National EMTV Sports.
The Pikanini Sports Program starts in late tomorrow and it will go on until Friday. The program was supposed to be held at the Makam district, but it was moved to the Sir Ignatius Kilage Stadium in Lae. The PNG Sports Foundation is carrying out the program with the support of PNG RFU and sponsors Prima, Chemica and Lae Biscuit Company.
Which is the rugby union under the Scrum and also the AFL PNG, which is under Northern Regional Development Office. We are very fortunate to conduct this training, which will be starting tomorrow, Thursday to Friday, with the coaching of the skills and also the modify games or lead up games to the skills that
especially junior programs for the schools, and we are privileged to be associated with the Sports Foundation, and we've been associated with Sports Foundation for 20 years now.
And there in Strukai Sports, but don't go anywhere, the all-important weather details when we come back.
Strukai Sports. Strukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region, fine in Alota and showers elsewhere. In the Momase region, a shower or two in Lewau and Madang, mostly fine in Wewak and Vanimo. The New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau and Kagang, mostly fine. Mostly fine as well in Buka, and showers or 2 in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, you can expect some showers with morning fog. Before we go, recapping our main stories for tonight. Police Commissioner Gari Baki orders internal investigations. CS Commissioner Michael Waipo warned not to effect changes, and more than 900 graduate from the University of Goroka. And that is the news, sports and weather for tonight, Wednesday, the 20th of April 2016. On behalf of the EMTV News team, I'm Mary Botulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.